Where can you go and meet hundreds of people just like you, strengthen existing relationships and forge new ones with vendors and distributors, and meet some of the biggest names in the industry, where you can go and see the newest tech and services that you need to make your IT business grow. And there'll be thousands of pounds worth of prizes up for grabs. Then what's more, you'll get that for £1. TechMax 2023 will be on the 23rd of June at Magna Adventure and Science Centre near Meadowhall in Sheffield. This event will be over 4 times larger than last year's event, and this year's event will incorporate a live tech awards, dedicated meeting rooms, demo and interactive areas, and up to 800 other techs just like you. Get registered now at tftmax.com. Where can you go and meet hundreds of people just like you, strengthen existing relationships and forge new ones with vendors and distributors, and meet some of the biggest names in the industry, where you can go and see the newest tech and services that you need to make your IT business grow. And there'll be thousands of pounds worth of prizes up for grabs. Then what's more, you'll get that for £1. TechMax 2023 will be on the 23rd of June at Magna Adventure and Science Centre near Meadowhall in Sheffield. This event will be over 4 times larger than last year's event, and this year's event will incorporate a live tech awards, dedicated meeting rooms, demo and interactive areas, and up to 800 other techs just like you. Get registered now at tftmax.com.
You're watching Tech Talk in affiliation with Tech for Techs. We're a community that supports independent trade with the help of vendors and distributors. We're live every Thursday at 8 p.m. London time, and we'll be streaming to Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You can listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Google, TuneIn, and many more. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, and your host, Philip Griffiths.
Well, hello everyone. This is a live show where we discuss different ways to help your IT business grow. My name is Phil Griffiths, and this is...
Hi, I'm Jenny Griffiths, and we are your hosts for this evening.
Right, okay, so let's get on to the main show, but before we do, can we get everyone to comment in the comment section below or to the side or wherever it may be so we know that you can actually see and hear us this week, and I'm not just talking to myself because someone accidentally themselves. I'm not saying who that was, but there we go. So, guys, I know there is a bit of a delay. If you can comment, let us know if you can hear and see us. And let us know. For some reason, our camera just decided to turn itself off. So
okay, we got back up.
So got back up. It's kicking back in. Here we go. Nothing like a live show. So right, you're saying Carl says a jittery feed. Is anyone else seeing it jittery? Stalwart Computers saying audio video good. Hello Inverness, loud and clear from a few people. Dave is saying all is fine on YouTube as well as Blue Bolt as well. Hello everyone there. I'm going to post a link into chat for you. So if anyone is coming up as Facebook user, then you will be able to obviously click this link and it'll make it so your name is shown in chat. So you just basically go to chat.restream.io/Facebook. So is it all jittery? Is the sound jittery, or is it everything jittery? If you can let us know. Also, if you can try on a different format, for example, YouTube or something along that lines, it may be a little bit better. There is quite a few people viewing tonight, so that may be something to do with it. But yeah, if you can let us know. And again, hi Mark, how you doing? Right, so before we go anywhere or further on, shall we say, we've got two guests on the show tonight, other than my co-host, obviously, which is Jenny. We've got Ben and Chris. But first of all, Jenny, can I get you to introduce yourself, let everyone know who you are, what you do, and if you've got any tips and story for us today?
Oh, well, I am Jenny. Guess you could call me Mrs. Tech for Techs. I am the one who edits the videos and things like that, and keeps Phil in line, which is a job in itself, but we won't go into that now. That's a different story for a different day. Right, let's crack on with my story. I have noticed in the news that Twitter have expanded their tweets from 280 characters to 4,000. Now, first of all, the mind boggles as to why you would need 280 characters for a tweet, much less 4,000. But there is a catch. As with all things, there's a catch to this. You have to be a Twitter Premium Blue Tier member, and you got to live in America to utilize this feature. So if you're in any other country other than the U.S., what I just said is just, maybe we'll get it soon, maybe we won't, who knows. But apparently they're special over there and they get to use the feature. Who knows? I can't imagine having that much to say on social media. 4,000 characters? That's like an essay.
Yeah, 4,000 characters is a lot. And you said it's the ones with, is it the blue
tier
or whatever? That's the paid for membership. Yeah. So obviously you pay, you get to write more. And I'm guessing that'll be mainly people advertising stuff and stuff like that. But it's a shame because a lot of social media is doing that. It's sort of like... they all sort of incorporate everyone else. It's a bit like YouTube. YouTube brought out YouTube Shorts to compete with TikTok, and then TikTok expanded the length that the videos could be to like 10 minutes to compete with YouTube. So they all end up blending into one, I think, to be honest, on there. So yeah, definitely good point there, to be honest.
They're no longer unique for what they do. They can't lose themselves.
That's good. Looks like Facebook user is saying video is better. Again, Facebook user and anyone else, I'll put the message on the screen for you. It'll slide across the screen in a second. But if you go to that link, what's going to see scrolling at the bottom, that will allow your name to be shown if you are a Facebook user. Right, let's move on to Mr. Ben Ashcroft next. Ben, if you want to basically let everyone know who you are, what you do, if you've got any tips, stories for us today.
Yeah, good evening, Phil. I'm Ben Ashcroft. I run Bugs and Bytes Computing in sunny Lincoln. Trade sale laptops and also desktops and gaming PCs. So my tip this week is a shortcut in Windows. I found it by accident when I was reaching for Alt and Tab earlier. It's Windows and Tab, which will toggle the task view to look at tasks from the previous day or previous days or weeks that you've been working on. So it'll save you sort of looking through the folders to find specific files if you don't know the file locations and that. It's quite a handy little tip, really.
Okay, nice one. That's a good tip for us. Also, if anyone hasn't seen already, and we'll come a bit more into it in the next few minutes, but we've been sending press releases out this week about Ben, actually, or at least its company, because they will be exhibiting at TechMax in June. If you don't know anything about TechMax, you can have a look at the link below. We'll give it a few minutes and we'll tell you a little bit more about it. So let's go on to Chris next. So, Chris, if you want to introduce yourself, let everyone know who you are, what you do, and is that a dead body in the background to your right or left, should I say?
Not anymore. You made me take it out before we started the show. Good evening, everybody. I'm Chris from One Touch Services. We are based near Staines and Bagshot in Surrey, and do IT support and laptop and desktop repair and that kind of thing, CCTV installs. In terms of a tip, mine features tab as well, so obviously most of us tab onto the next thing, but shift and tab will take you backwards as well, which is quite handy. In terms of another tip that I've got, because I thought I'd come up with two because one was boring. If you have a credit card terminal, make sure that you use chip and pin when you're actually taking a payment, and don't just take the payment by swiping it. I know obviously most people use chip and pin. Contactless is good, but chip and pin is the most secure way of taking a card payment. Definitely, unless you absolutely have to, don't type the numbers in, because that can be reversed quite easily and cost you a small fortune, as I found out when one of my staff members did some time ago. So yeah.
Oh dear, doesn't sound good, but yeah, that's definitely some good advice there. So definitely go for obviously the chip and pin option if you can, if you've got card terminals. Right, okay, I suppose it's on to me next, but before we do, so let's just have a look at chat. So we've got hi from Brolly IT in Ireland. So Peter says, please listen to Chris. We had this once. It will be the only time. So yeah, so it's one of those things you learn from it, I suppose. It's like I'm not doing that again, and you drill that into all your staff and so forth. So that's good to know. Right, okay, so let me go on to my news. Most of you know who I am anyway and so forth, but let me just go through some news we've got today. So let's have a look. So first of all is I've seen it quite a lot the last few weeks, especially since probably Christmas, is quite a few people have been struggling to get customers and stuff like that. Saw a post today, I forget who it was now, I think it might be an anonymous user, and I've had a few messages from people saying they're having a similar sort of issue. They haven't got a budget to spend on stuff like AdWords and stuff like that. Not that you can probably get that working these days because they've banned that many things, or Facebook ads and so forth. But some of the free ways of doing it is try contacting local newspapers, do free stories for them. So offer to write like articles, tips and advice. You'd be surprised. Newspapers want stuff and they'll give you the stuff for free. All you need to do is ask them. Make sure you obviously include a link to your website on it, because as well, they usually post these things on their website, and obviously you get the backlink from where people can click on it to go to your website. But not only that, it also boosts your SEO because more things linking to your website helps you rank better. And again, might be some basic things like how to back up your machine, do a spring cleaning, and this, that, and the other. Only has to be a few paragraphs. You could probably knock it up, and you probably get some advice and help from others with that as well. A few other quick tips is share your reviews you've received on social media. So if someone's giving you a review on Google, Facebook, share it, and that basically shows people that you're good. And obviously, other people are saying, "Yeah, we're brilliant." Also, referral marketing works for some as well. So give people an extra business card, ask them to share it, as in give that card to someone else, especially if they offer to give you a tip. You could say, rather than giving me a tip, give me a shout out on social media or whatever it may be, or give the business card to a friend, a relative. Some people do incentives as well, where obviously they'll say something along the lines as, oh, if you get me new clients, I can give you a $5 and stuff. I've not done that myself, but I do know a few people who do it and they say it works. Probably not give them a $5, but probably giving like a credit to store or your services or something like that. Another thing is what we've done well in is local groups. I've said this a few times before. So basically offer your services to like a local photography and video groups. There's a lot of them out there. And generally these people who go and take part in these groups have usually got a lot of basically lots of income, or they've at least got lots of money they want to spend. So they're wanting to buy top-end gaming computers or creative computers and stuff like that. And one way to get in with them is offer them, like the group, a free talk. So you could give like advice on backing up their camera cards or whatever it may be, or something along that lines, or security, things they've got to watch out for. You get your foot in the door. You share your names there basically, and then if they ever need any computer repairs or new computers, which generally they will go to the extremes, and computers, lots of storage, decent graphics cards, processors, that's one way to get in there. And then obviously I know it doesn't fix your money issues now, but build up recurring income, like selling security on a monthly thing. You might think, oh yeah, but I'm only making £3 a month off of it, rather than selling a security license for 40 quid. But yeah, if you sell it monthly, you probably never ever see the customer again. You just basically have that £3, £4 or whatever it may be coming in every month, and you never ever see the customer ever again. But you don't have to worry about them renewing it in a year's time or anything like that. So something I would recommend. And when we had our store, all our bills and costs for the store and home were covered by our reoccurring income. So anything we did in the store was actually a bonus on top. So I would recommend you do that. And it doesn't have to be for businesses. This can be for consumers as well. Most of our clients were consumers when we did have the store. So just to give you a rough idea. Right, before we go anywhere else, we've got to tell you about something, and that something is...
Can you go and meet hundreds of people just like you, strengthen existing relationships and forge new ones with vendors and distributors, and meet some of the biggest names in the industry, where you can go and see the newest tech and services that you need to make your IT business grow. And there'll be thousands of pounds worth of prizes up for grabs. Then what's more, you'll get that for a quid. TechMax 2023 will be on the 23rd of June at Magna Adventure and Science Centre near Meadowhall in Sheffield. This event will be over 4 times larger than last year's event, and this year's event will incorporate a live tech awards, dedicated meeting rooms, demo and interactive areas, and up to 800 other techs just like you. Get registered now at tftmax.com.
So there you go. If you haven't registered already, make sure you do at Tech for Tech's website. So you can go to the normal techfortech.co.uk and then click on book now, or you can go to tftmax.com and you can actually book tickets there as well. I'll put the links in the bottom as well for you, so just in case you're not sure. So let's just put that there. Right, okay, so if you haven't seen already, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, Ben, who's from Bugs and Bytes and Computing, is going to be exhibiting at the show, so he will be there and actually showing off his products and wares, so you'll be able to see the sort of things he offers and so forth. And Ben's going to be on the show again, I think it's next month. We've got a show just booked in with Ben. He's actually coming around to our studio, and he's actually going to be showing us off his products and wares in the studio as well. So you'll be able to see.
He's going to be sitting right here where I am, and I'm going to take a much needed gaming night. So,
Yeah, there we go. I didn't say you could have the night off. But so obviously Ben's going to be there. So if you haven't booked tickets and you want to see Ben again, tickets are £1. That's all they are. £1 won't cost you any more. Just £1. Obviously you've got to sort out your own transport, and if you're staying in a hotel and stuff, that's totally up to you. And it's based, as you can see, in Sheffield/Rotherham. It's sort of right on the border of both, but it's basically next door to Meadowhall, if you know where Meadowhall is.
And if you have any questions regarding booking in, please feel free to email us at info@techfortext.co.uk, and I will be glad to send you a package over and answer any questions.
There you go. Oh, banging my microphone now. But you can see the email address on screen as well at the moment. Tickets are going pretty quick. We've already sold more tickets for this year's event than we sold or people attended last year's event already. So as you can see, it's going to be a lot more people there. There's going to be more vendors. We've got more stands sold than we had last year and so forth. So it's going to be a real good event. Also, one last thing before we go on to the main topic. If you haven't already, check out the Tech for Tech's new members page. Bear in mind, you can still use Facebook. We're not replacing Facebook. This is an addition of, or for people who don't want to use Facebook. So just to show you, I'll put it on the screen here. Let me just get rid of the chat for a second. So as you can see here, TFT members page here, you can actually add yourself onto a map so you can find the likes of vendors and distributors. And let me move it around. As you can see here, you can see some of the guys who have been signing up just recently. There's a few guys there you'll probably recognise. You probably even see yourselves on there, but there's a few pages of people. Don't get me wrong, it's only been live for about a week now, so there isn't a huge amount of people on there, but obviously it's slowly adding up. We're getting probably about 3 or 4 people every day signing up for it, which is pretty good. There's also a forum on there as well. We're going to be using the forum a bit more going forward for basically topics that people can pin and keep there. One of the problems with Facebook, shall we say, is with Facebook, if you post something, it's going to disappear after a few seconds. It just scrolls down and you probably never ever see it again. Well, at least with the actual forum, we'll be able to pin topics and things like polls so that there you can easily get to them when you want straight away. And there'll also be discounts, areas, marketplaces, and a few of the vendors and distributors who are not allowed to use Facebook for whatever reasons have already signed up for it as well. Don't get me wrong, there are more people signed up than you saw in the picture. That's just people who have added their listing on the map. There are a lot more people who have actually signed up just directly for the forum, but it gives you a rough idea. Right, let's get on to the main topic now. So what we're talking about today, was it pricing, was it? So yes, it is. So I'm going to start off and let's just go a quick round the room and have a talk about the pricing and so forth. And then we're going to basically talk about what sort of how much we charge for certain things. Obviously, there's certain things what certain people don't do and so forth. So we'll just bear that in mind. So, for example, I know Ben doesn't have a store as such, so he's not going to be offering over-the-counter repairs. But obviously, he probably offers some services in different ways and so forth. Or I don't know. He'll basically fill us in basically and let us know what he does. Obviously, guys who are watching, obviously shout out what you're doing as well. So do you have any advice about pricing first, Ben, before we get into the nitty-gritty about how much we all charge and so forth?
Probably the only advice would be put your prices up, folks, because there's a lot of folk. I mean, I've seen the polls that you've done, Phil. There's a lot of folk who are really undercharging, and I've been guilty of that myself. I probably, when it comes to doing like call-out fees, I'm probably still a bit undercharging compared to what I should. But it's like I've put my prices up twice, I think, in the last year, and neither time anyone's batted an eyelid. So it makes me think I'm probably still maybe a little bit too cheap even now, you know. I put the prices up once where I went back reg by a bit of a chunk because obviously I had to have the 20% on, and then I put the price up an extra £10 plus VAT again. Like, yeah, towards the end of last year, and no one's batted an eyelid. So,
yeah.
Well, your overheads are going up, so you know people expect you to compensate for that. And I will give you a prime example of people who expect to pay more. My grandmother, she would not buy anything that was cheap. She was a firm believer that she got quality when she paid more for it.
Yeah.
So if you were cheap, she thought you were cheap for a reason, and she would stay away from you.
Mm.
Yeah.
So there's
But-
people like that will you will lose business of if you're not on par with the rest of the people.
That's it. What's your
I guess
views
it's
on this, Chris?
subjective, isn't it? Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, I guess it's subjective, isn't it? Because what is cheap? What is expensive? Well, unless you've got a point of reference, if you've got 6 people that are £20 an hour and you've got one person that's £50 an hour, the £50 an hour you would assume is expensive. But you get some people that say to you, well, God, that's a lot of money, isn't it? And you think, well, that's expensive. Well, what are you basing it against? If you've not spoken to anybody else, how can you say it's expensive? Yeah, and I would very much agree with Ben. I mean, we've put our prices up. We did it last year at the beginning of the year. We've done it this year at the beginning of the year as well. Not a great deal, £5 per hour. But yeah, every little helps, doesn't it? And I would
Yeah,
say
it does.
there's a lot of people. I mean, when I started, I've been doing this coming on 20 years now. When I started, I was charging £30 an hour. I know that there's people local to me that still charge that £35 an hour, and I think you're underdoing yourself there. You're kind of ruining the industry to a certain extent because you're selling it for too cheap.
Yes.
But you can lead a horse to water, can't you? I would quite happily say to those people, albeit competitors, put your prices up, because then it's relative and one of us is going to get the business. You might end up with having a crappy customer just because you're cheap. You don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
It kind of weeds out the less desirable customer.
Yeah.
I know when we had free diagnostics, we had the whole village come in one day wanting diagnostics on 10-year-old laptops. Well, yeah, it was work and it was traffic through the door, but did they spend a penny in there while they were dropping off computers? Probably one of them bought a mouse, maybe. Maybe. And that was a £5 mouse. It wasn't anything spectacular. So I encourage you, if you're going to go out there and you're going to work on it and use your talents and your skills, get paid. Get
Yeah.
paid.
I won't do free diagnostics, haven't done for many, many years. And I think I've mentioned it recently on the group. We charge up front for our diagnostics now
Yes.
because we used to get quite a few people that would just abandon stuff that wasn't worth doing. You would say to them, well, this is getting on a little bit. Well, they want you to look at it anyway for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And especially stuff like water damaged. Take the money up front now, all the time, including a call out. So as soon as you book a call out, we'll charge you the money up front, and then we've got a refund policy. If it's cancelled outside of a certain time, we'll give you the money back. If it's not, then we'll give you, we'll reschedule it. And if we turn up and you're not there, and we'll wait 20 minutes, you've done your money. And I think it's fair. If you tell people that in advance, if it's a little old lady or something, that's different. But the vast majority of people, but it cuts down people that leave stuff there. And surprisingly, since we started doing the call out up front, which was this time last year, we haven't had one person that wasn't there when we showed up. Haven't wasted our time. It is, yeah. When they're committed, we got the skin in the game, then it changes things a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, people they set aside times to go grocery shopping every week. I had this a lot when I'd be booking him a call out. Oh, I can't do that because that's when I go buy groceries. It's penciled in Wednesday at noon. We have to go to Morrison's. It's not flexible. People are really funny about that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, if they're that set in their ways that they've got to do that, they need to be set in their ways and have him as a priority for when he shows up, and he needs to get paid regardless if you're there or not. So I totally agree with that.
Well, that's it. Obviously, if these people aren't there, then basically you've got to charge everyone else to make up for it, haven't you? But going by the pricing,
always make sure that you're putting your prices up by at least inflation, because otherwise, if you're not, you're basically making a loss more of a loss every year. So if, let's just say, inflation was 11%, not taking hints from anywhere, but let's say it was, and you only put your prices up by 5%, then you're actually making 6% less money basically over a year compared to the year before. So always make sure you put your prices up by at least inflation. Otherwise, you are going to make less money year on year, or you've got to work harder to make the same amount or more. And I think Chris says I think it was you, Chris. You said you put your prices up by like £5, was it? Not so long ago. Yeah. Well,
Or per hour.
£5. Yeah. So £5 doesn't sound like a lot, but let's just say, for people who are watching, let's just say you do one job a day, which takes you 1 hour to do, and you put your prices up by a £5. Okay. Who wants to work that one out for me? That would be £1,825 extra you're earning a year. Okay, you've got to pay taxes and everything on that and so forth. But you're basically making nearly £2,000. If you're doing 10 hours worth of work a day, that's 18 grand. Okay, soon adds up. Okay, so just a £5 can make a huge difference. If everyone put the price up by a £5, I'm pretty sure there'll be a hell of a lot more happier people at the end of the year, because they can afford an extra holiday, or maybe put it towards a new car, or pay off the mortgage or whatever. £2,000 it does sound like a lot, but it's not in a lot of realities. It probably only pays a couple of months' rent for a shop or something like that, but it's still going to save you a bit of money. So a £5 here and there does actually make a difference, and you'd be surprised. And realistically, how many customers are you going to lose if you put your prices up by a £5? Will you get a moan from one or two probably regular customers that already know your prices? Maybe. Will they actually go to someone else for that £5? More than likely not. Generally, you can afford to lose a good amount of your customers before you'd actually make a loss by putting the price up by a £5. And I don't think you'd lose any, or very minimal if you did. So I would recommend that. Let's just quickly go through chat before we go any further.
Can I hazard a guess at who Facebook user is?
Go on then. I haven't read it yet.
Might it be Cormac?
I'm guessing you're correct. I'm guessing you're correct.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can see the name in the middle. Yeah. So
Yeah.
his email address. So yeah, definitely Cormac there. I'm going to put that on the screen. I am not going to read that out because it's going to take ages. But he's basically saying he's helping customers over the phone. Worked out he spent 70 minutes a day. So that's basically 70 minutes a day he's doing, which means he's not getting paid for. And I must admit, we used to get that a lot in the store as well. We used to just get people just wandering in, just because they wanted to chat or they wanted advice on the tech, and they've got no intentions of using you or obviously anything like that. And obviously, it's time what you're wasting. So you have to
Can
sometimes
I
learn.
chime in with a tip here?
Yeah, sure.
So what I've done now with the guys in the shop doesn't always happen. Sometimes they'll just help them out. But if it takes any longer than a few to 5 minutes, I will say to them, right, you need to book an appointment with that person, and then they either do it there and then, but they need to book an appointment, or they come back at a later date if you're busy. Because two things: A, you're helping someone, and that person then jumps the entire queue of work you have in, and we predominantly we'll work on a first come first serve basis. So if people book loads of stuff in, they jump in the queue. And not only that, 5 minutes turns into 15-20 minutes, and invariably you don't realize it's been 15-20 minutes and you're not charging for it. So whereas if they book an appointment, then they get told your pricing up front, and then you're getting paid for that time. I'm quite happy to help someone out, but they've got to realize that your expertise doesn't come for free.
That's it. Exactly. That's absolutely brilliant advice there. But let's just quickly go through some of the chat because we're losing some of it. So let's have a look. So we've got Peter Whitehouse saying we had some local guy charging 30 to £40 an hour. They've ceased trading now, probably because they couldn't make any profits on that. Yeah. One of the things you guys have got to realise is how much your daily costs are. And when I say how much your costs are for running your business, you've got to figure out how much you've got to live on as well. Okay, so it's not just how much money you need to cover your costs; it's how much you've got to actually live on, pay
Food
for
bills,
food, your rent or mortgage, your car,
electricity.
electric. If you've
Ex-wife.
got a wife or husband who spends a lot of money on shopping, the kids who like to do certain things, join groups and different things like that. I won't get at anyone saying that she spends a lot of money on shopping. She doesn't.
What I do with my
She's actually
business.
she's pretty good.
Whacking Jenny.
But what I'm getting at is it's not just the costs of your business you've got to cover, it's your personal life. And you've got to figure out what your actual costs are. So I'd basically divide that down, your costs. So add up your mortgage, electric and stuff. And this goes for your business.
Your
Do a
petrol
separate
even,
one.
or diesel or whatever.
Do your separate one for home and so forth, and work out how much money you need to earn to cover your business per day, and also how much you need to cover your personal life as well. And that way you can get a rough idea how much you need to be charging just to break even. Bear in mind you've got taxes and VAT and everything else to go on top, but it gives you something to aim for, because obviously one of the biggest things we see is people just don't know how much it costs them. You just watch these TV shows like Hotel Inspector with Alex Polizzi, or Ramsey on Kitchen Nightmares, or whatever it is.
The first thing that Alex will say to you is, "You've got to work out your costings."
Yeah.
She'll say, "Darling, you've got to work out your costings," and she'll ask them what they are, and they just look at each other with a duh look on their face, like, "What's a costing? Oh, what's that?" And they won't know their overhead, bless them. And I'm thinking to myself, how can you not know? You've got bills rolling in. You've got to have some idea of what it's going to cost. And you need to add that up, break it down, and see what you need to be charging for your services. So
yeah, definitely that.
I was going to say, sorry, I think the other thing about price increases, you might lose a few customers. Like you guys were talking about the free diagnostics, you might lose some so-called customers, but as you increase your prices, your quality of your customer tends to get better as well. You get away from the folk that want something for nothing. So I was way too cheap when I first started. I was way too cheap.
I think we all were.
Yeah. And then you put your prices up, and all of a sudden you lose a couple of sort of deadwood customers, and you get people who really appreciate your work and really appreciate what you do and the service you provide, you know?
And another thing, I would avoid using the word cheap in marketing. We were gotten known to and scolded by the Alex Polizzi of Target Components, John Collier, for saying that we were cheap as chips. We thought it was a cute little thing to say because our name was Chips Computers. So it's as cheap as chips. Well, he got it. He got it as in, oh, that's cute. He says, but don't use cheap, because cheap is associated with being nasty.
Mm-hmm.
And chips aren't cheap anymore. £2.70 a portion around here.
There you go.
So, yeah, don't use cheap in your marketing, because people associate that with nasty and people that don't know what they're doing, or the mate that's great with the computer or something like that. Also, another marketing tip is the Parish Magazine. We used to go and have our article in the Parish Magazine. And it is really interesting how much trade we got from being in the Parish Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an endorsement. So, like, you are good because you're in the Parish Magazine, so we can trust you.
Yeah.
And people would come up to me all the time. I saw you in the Parish Magazine, and I asked my friend about you, and they said they used you. So it's very beneficial, and a lot of times it's very little to advertise in the Parish Magazine. A little donation to the church or something like that.
Very little.
I mean, very minimal.
Yeah, so I won't say we got loads of customers from it, but we got obviously enough to more than pay for the advert 100 times over, to be honest with you. We did pretty well out of that, and we had some interesting sayings from customers as well from that. I mentioned on the post post in the Facebook group earlier. You'll probably read that regarding that. But basically, being in a parish magazine will give you a certain endorsement, shall we say. Right, okay, let's quickly go through the chat because we're getting way behind. Right, okay, so we've got Carl saying we charge 25 for diagnostics with the option to use the 25 towards the repair. Yeah, that's basically what we did when we had the store. Obviously, we're just doing mainly the call outs now. We don't really do that because we're going directly to them. But yeah, we used to. I think we started 20, then went up to 30, weren't it? If I remember
30.
right. 35 was it in the end, but yeah, good idea. And then if they go ahead with the repair, then we knock the price off the repair. So that's pretty good. Again, if anyone else charges diagnostics, shout out, let us know how much you're charging. We've got PC Guy saying, evening, folks. We've got Cormac's post, which, yeah, saying he's basically wasting a lot of time. We've got David there saying, my advice to people who are trying to work in the IT sector full-time is don't try to compete with the Facebook marketplace bedroom traders. A lot of them are selling on the side and have full-time jobs, side in that one on the screen, so can sell really cheap. Yeah, some people are. Again, I'm not a fan of the word bedroom traders. I started in a bedroom. A lot of people probably on here have and probably even still do use it. But yeah, I totally agree. What you're saying is obviously a lot of people on the Facebook groups and stuff like that, a lot of them haven't got insurance, haven't got proper coverage, maybe the correct tools, and they've probably learned how to do it 5 minutes in the college, or just because they've managed to fix the granddad's PC once, they're now an expert. But yeah, so yeah, agree to, other than the wording of the bedroom traders, but yes. So we've got the PC Guy. I do offer free diagnostics. I do offer free diagnostics. Can't speak today.
Get it right.
However, I include that in the price of repair, and they go ahead, update and price to £30. So yeah, so that's pretty good. Blue Bolt PC, they recently implemented a storage fee. If they don't collect within 3 weeks, they charge £5 a day. Yeah, that's a good way of doing it. There is actual correct rules or legal rules about doing that. If someone doesn't collect stuff, you have to message them and send recorded letters and this, that, and the other. Keep it for so long. But there's nothing saying you can't charge an actual storage fee. So if they do come back in, let's say 3 months of you storing it, then if they want it back, they've got to pay your £5 a day. I think we only charged like £1 a day or something.
Yeah, it was
like
£1
that,
a day, but there was enough
to
that
put them
more
off.
customers wanted to pick it up on time.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, our customers coming through were in such need of it being fixed, like yesterday, that they were on time, and they were saying, if you can get it fixed before your scheduled time, I really would appreciate that. I always gave myself leeway, though. I may have known this is going to be a day job, but I always gave myself 3 days, 3 to 5 days, because you just never know what's going to happen. The hard drive could fail or something like that. And then you're not the hero anymore. You're actually the bad guy in their eyes. So always give yourself a little bit more time scheduling.
Yeah, definitely on that one.
I would say, going back to what I was saying earlier about charging up front, I mean, again, if people have got skin in the game, for want of a better expression, they generally will come and collect it. We had so little pushback when we implemented that. We might have got 1 or 2 over the course of a year, possibly 5 max, but very little pushback on people paying up front. we call it a diagnostics. I've seen a few people put on there roughly what they charge. I'm going to be honest, we're probably a lot more expensive, but we will. So we charge £70 up front. That covers the diagnostics. Now, if we can resolve the problem within the diagnostics, it's not any more than that. And that's our hourly fee, by the way, £70.
Yeah.
Invariably, there'll be times where you're not charging by the hour because it would just run away with you. So, but £70 for upfront, and then if it's going to be any more than that, or it's going to require any parts after we've completed diagnostics, we'd quote them first. I think we've,
sounds
as I
like
say, I think
standard
we've,
bench fee.
Yeah.
We probably are on the more expensive side of things. I'm okay with that. I mean, we don't have any. I mean, at one of our shops at the moment, we've got 40-something jobs booked in, and that's over the past week. So, no shortage of people that are willing to pay it, which is I'm all right with.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like what we had was a bench fee. If it had to hit the bench, beyond diagnostics, I think at the time it was £50.
When we closed, it was 65. But yeah,
65, yeah.
Yeah.
And that covered most things like virus removal and cleanups, yearly services, things like that.
hmm
And as you say, most things could be rectified within that standard costing unless you had to get a part,
Yeah.
which you usually knew before they even put it on the bench that you're going to need a part or not. Like the broken screen person comes in, you got to get a screen, or the ticking hard drive, things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just a quick comment. Yeah, I see what you're saying, David. But I've just had to remove a comment a few minutes ago while we were talking because it was a little bit strange, and I actually think I know where this message is coming from. But there was a message pop up was basically saying, if we're so good at this, why have we closed our store? Okay, we closed our store that we've come across this a few times.
Yeah.
We closed our store the end of July, beginning of August. It was around about the first week, I think it was in August. After we did our event last year, which was Tech Max, because we're concentrating mainly on the tech for tech side of the thing. We're still keeping on our maintenance contracts, what we'd use. Obviously, you can go out and repair the computers and businesses and stuff like that. We're still keeping all that on. But we closed the store. We got ourselves a brand new studio, which we're in now, which costs hell of a lot more than the store ever did. I tell you, I think just the electricity in here costs more than I rent for the store, to be honest with you.
It does.
It does, yeah.
It does.
It's progression, though, isn't it?
I pay the bills.
Sorry, what was that?
I was just saying it's progression, isn't it? You've changed direction on what you're doing, and just because you're not running a retail store anymore doesn't mean that you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
No, we've done that. It was our dream job was to have a store, both Phil and myself, and we did that, and we accomplished that. Now we're moving forward.
Yeah.
So and to better things, bigger and better. If you can't do bigger and better for yourself, you're not doing very well.
In all honesty, my shopping bag shop, the lease for it came up for renewal end of last year, and I was considering actually moving to an office and doing away with a retail outlet because sometimes a retail outlet is a drawback. As you said earlier, I think, Phil, you get people that just come in because they want to chit chat, and actually that's you can
I don't
spend
have time for that.
Yeah, you can spend hours each day, or maybe not as much as that, but and it quickly adds up, doesn't it? So yeah.
And I used to hate cutting people off because the lonely person would come in there, and I'm probably the only person they see in weeks, maybe even a month. And I felt bad, especially elder person comes in there and they want to talk, but they're costing me every time I talk to them beyond 20 minutes at most. I have a job to do. And sometimes I would just have to tell them, I hate to say this, but I've just really got to get to work, or Phil is going to get on to me. I would always put it off on Phil. I'd say, Phil is going to get on my case so bad if I don't get this done. But it was really nice talking to you. Elaborate that you've had a good chat, but, make them knowing that you've got to get on with your work.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good, to be honest with you. Before we go any further, I'm just going to go through the rest of chat because we're about 15 minutes behind with chat. Blue Bolt was saying as well the charge is £60 for the disposal as well. That's obviously if they've kept it in. Peter's saying similar here. We've got someone saying evening all. Can never make. We need to adjust this camera so we can read what it
Yeah.
says. But it basically says, even in all, you can never make a business work charging 40, 50 a job. Would never last. That was from Facebook user. Again, Facebook user, if you can click the links we've been posting in the chat, please do. That'll allow your name to be shown. Chris, you've got an admirer. That's all I'll say. Let's have a look what else we've got. So, best service, best quality on there, etc. Probably better. So, yeah, agree there. You've got Wilmer saying, I increased my MSP pricing a few months ago, more realistic pricing, and I lost one customer but gained a better top line, not just to make money, but to cover costs and all these MSP software, etc. and so forth. Now I make a profit, which is good. Well, that's what you want to do. It's what you want to be in business for. If you're not making a profit, then what's the point being self-employed, to be honest with you? You might as well go and work for someone else, less stress, and obviously you'd be earning more if that was the case. So Peter's saying 25 quid on his diagnostics. I think that looks like a popular number between that 20 and 30. Let's have a look. What markup do you put on hardware/software costs? Let's go around the room. Ben, do you put any? You don't really sell store-wise, do you? If I'm right.
No, I work from home office. Hardware's a bit of a tricky one, really, because I don't tend to sell brand new hardware. The only occasional hardware I do is sort of gaming PCs, even though I'm a hardware business. I do hardware trade sales repairs. But I would certainly say, without giving away figures, sort of thing, you certainly make more of a margin on refurbished kit than you ever will on brand new stuff, especially with your VAT reg.
Yeah, some good points there. What about yourself, Chris?
It really depends what it is. I mean, generally speaking, parts between 20 and 30% markup. Refurbished PCs. I mean, if we're selling to the public, I want at least 100 quid across a machine to make it worthwhile. You know, handling warranty,
And that's probably your bottom feeder kind of machine.
It is, yeah. If I can't put 100 quid across it, I'm probably not going to bother selling that machine. If if it's a cheap machine that won't be worthwhile, I'm not going to bother. I mean, my guy said to me the other day, "Oh, why don't we get a few cheap ones in? Maybe third, fourth generation." I'm like, it's not worth it. A, you can end up with hassle, and B, you just can't mark it up that much, and so it goes back to the point of not being worthwhile. So I generally have a sort of minimum on what we'll put something up. So maybe, if we're talking like a replacement keyboard that might cost us 15 quid, I'll probably be charging £30 for that.
Chief Facebook user that wants to know about markup if I replace a GFX card in a PC. Well, you've got to factor in which card you're replacing, because there's variants of cards, and there's different generations of cards. So you can't just say a 1050 Ti as the same markup as a 40, a 60, or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't do that. It's not straight across the board. It's not cut and dry. You have to factor in many things.
The way I'd look at that personally is, obviously, if you're going to be installing it for someone, you're replacing it, you charge obviously a repair / installation fee of doing it. Whatever your prices are in your area, let's just say ballpark figure, you charge 60 quid. I don't know if it's a store or you're going out to them, but let's say you charge £60, and then it's going to be the price of the card. If I was doing something like that, again, graphics cards, as you said, okay, they're a lot more expensive these days. So 10% on a graphics card a few years ago would be 30 quid. 10% on a graphics card now can be 150 quid. So you've got to really depends on the card itself, but it could be anywhere between 10 and 30% basically on a graphics card myself and components.
And also, you've got to factor in if this is someone coming into your store and they're just wanting to buy a graphics card, and you've got it either on the shelf or you're ordering it in for them. You've got to factor up how much did you pay for it? How much is it going to take for you to make profit? Also factor in delivery costs. Not just the cost of the card itself, but delivery, Any other costs incurred on it, add those up, put a profit margin on it that you have to get even, and go from there. It's not a cut and dry thing.
A
You've got
good
I'd
stuff
way
like
also
of finding out.
potential returns,
Go to you,
potential
Ben,
return.
first. Go on, Ben.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so
what
you
was
got
that?
stuff like potential for returns as well. The car comes back faulty within the warranty period, stuff like that. I was
Yep.
going to say, go back to the hardware thing. It's like certainly because I mean I sell majority, like 90% of what I sell is refurbished laptops. The markup of that has very much changed in the last few months, particularly. You got your 8th gen stuff, the prices are going up on that, 8th gen upwards stuff, because all the trade is now looking for particularly 8th gen Windows 11 compatible hardware. So your prices have dropped on 7th, 6th gen stuff, but it's still very sellable units like your Dell Latitudes. But traders have become more picky because they want Windows 11 hardware. So converse is, yeah, the prices have dropped a bit on the 6th, 7th gen stuff, but the prices have jumped on the 8th gen above stuff because they command the premium now. I'm at the stage now, I'm basically wanting to ditch anything. I mean, Chris, you were talking about 3rd and 4th gen units. I'm at the point now I don't want to sell anything under 6th gen, 7th gen,
Yeah. No, I'm the same. We won't touch a 7th gen or below now.
Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
only older stuff I've got in is stuff I've literally either been given to dispose of, which is actually still fully working, pop an SSD in it, sell it cheap at £99, £129. And
A
whatnot.
shame because they're perfectly good units, but it's again, if you can't have that markup to make it worthwhile for you doing it, then
Yeah.
For sure.
What you can always do is if you get if it's not going to cost you much to refurb it, hand it off to charity, and then you're doing sort of a bit of philanthropy and
Write it off
that's
on tax.
For
write it
sure.
off on tax, and also you can shout about it on your social page then as well.
Yeah.
The other thing
Yeah,
I found
absolutely.
as well is the difference between the residential and the trade market. Residential, they'll quite happily buy a unit, a 6th gen or 5th gen or 7th gen unit, and they won't be bothered if it's Windows 11 compatible because if that machine runs Windows 11, they don't mind having it a little bit at the bottom of the corner. But I make a point when they buy an older machine and say, this is not officially Windows 11 compatible. If you choose to run Windows 11, you can do so at your own risk. I won't be installing it. And I make them aware of the fact that there's that cut-off in October 2025. But I've also been speaking to people who've said they think Microsoft are going to abandon this whole TPM2 8th gen for Windows 11 because they're just sort of writing off too much of the used computer market. So it's an interesting sort of time. I mean, we've got, 2.5 years until we hit the cut-off for Windows 10 end of life.
I suppose it depends on the warranties you're given. Obviously, if it's a new device and you're installing Windows 10 on it and you're given a 3-year warranty, you're sort of kicking yourself in the teeth, really. But of refurbished, if as long as people understand, that's fine. One thing, again, just to go to the guy who was asking about hardware costs, software costs, for example, graphics cards or whatever it may be. Why don't you check with your local competition, see what they charge? It doesn't take much to send an email to your local competition, see what they charge, and it'll give you a good baseline of what to do. I think everyone's done it, to be honest with you. Even go into the stores and have a chat with them. You'd be surprised how many local stores will want to talk to, obviously, other competition, because in all honesty, we're all in the same boat together. You might as well be friends with the people who you're up against rather than be enemies, and that way they can help you out in the future if you ever have a problem, you need a job, what needs doing, what needs more people, they can get involved and so
I
forth.
used to refer my customers. I didn't do phone repair because it was too tedious and time consuming. And while I'm doing that, I could be doing 3 or 4 laptops or PCs. We were 2 people, and that's just not enough to warrant that. So I used to send the phone repairs to a PC store in town. And I told them, I said, I recommend these guys so much that this is where I would take my phone for repair should I need it doing. That lets you know that I have confidence in their ability and everything. And Phil and I, we went into the shop a couple of times and chatted with them and everything. And they were very pleasant with us. We had a really good relationship with them. Sometimes we could outsource things back and forth, and they would send customers to us for call outs because they didn't do call outs. So we had a really good working relationship with them. And if you'll do that, you'll find that a lot of other parties are willing to help you out as well.
Okay. Right, let's quickly just go through the chat. Oh, go on then, Chris, quick.
Sorry, I was just going to say, with regards to pricing PCs, I don't know if others do this, but certainly with what we do, is we won't give an individual parts list. We'll give an individual parts list, but we won't give a price for each component. You'll literally just get a build, and there's your price for the entire lot. Because otherwise, you do get people which will go and pick each one out and go, well, I can get that for 10 quid cheaper. Whereas if you've got just one price, it's a much more difficult to do that. You still get some people, but
I actually had this with a customer who bought a gaming PC for her son a couple of Christmases ago, and she paid the price. She was more than happy at the time, and she came back to me after Christmas, said, "Can I have an individual breakdown of every component?" I was like, "No, you can have an invoice, which is what you paid."
Yep.
I said, "You wouldn't go into PC World and ask them to break down all the components in the computer they're selling you, so why would you do it to me?"
Yeah.
And she never came back. She was quite happy. She's come back and bought off me again since.
Yeah. I think if you're
I
if you're
agree
up
with
for,
what William Murr is saying. What William is saying, he says he works close with his local computer shop, and it's actually someone in the TFT group, and he outsources when he is busy, and he's had some referrals from that, and he's working with each other, and no point in being aggressive. I agree with that totally. Yeah.
Well, my admirer earlier was someone who's local to us near our shop in Staines, and he does phone repairs. We don't do phone repairs. We'll send stuff his way. We do call outs. I don't think he does call outs, or certainly doesn't for certain stuff like networking. So he passes stuff our way. We buy laptops off of him. It works beautifully. Be friends with your competitors. It doesn't pay to be enemies on the whole.
No.
Exactly. And if you work out how many people live in the town or city you trade in, there's plenty of people usually to go around. I think the other people you really need to be up against is places like obviously eBay's, Amazons and stuff like that, rather than competing against other local stores, to be honest with you. Right, let's quickly go through some of the chat. Let's have a look. Facebook user says prices can depend on obviously where you are and stuff like that. Obviously, London South East is going to be more expensive. Yeah, obviously it's going to be certain places is going to be a lot more expensive because you've got more expenses obviously to pay yourself, rent and so forth, mortgages and so forth, and even the living costs just for your daily living is more expensive in London. I used to live on the outskirts of London 20 years ago now, probably a little bit over actually, and hell of a lot more expensive down there than when I was up in the Midlands. And when I came back up to the Midlands, I felt like a millionaire all of a sudden because everything was so cheap. So definitely get that. Let's have a look. Carl was saying his lease is up for renewal next year. The landlord is after a new 10-year lease, going to be moving premises. Are you going to be sticking with a store, Carl, or are you thinking probably go for just an office like a lot of people have been doing just recently? I know a few people will be doing that. We got Wilmer saying hardware percentile is difficult sometimes. Yeah, it is a difficult thing, to be honest, to do that. One of the things we usually used to do for hardware and builds and stuff is, okay, it's putting you towards one distributor over another. To be honest, is the Target's custom builder system they had. You could basically call up a price or something straight away, build a system in it, work out all your percentages and profits it all together. You just go in the back end and say, oh, I want to put 20% on CPUs, I want to put 50% on a DVD drive, I want to put 15% on a power supply, and you can do that and it'll add it all up for you, and then you can say, oh yeah, I want to put £100 build charge on top. That's how we used to do it for builds. Let's have a look. David's saying he charges 25 quid for diagnostics also. First few years in business, I had too many people asking me to tell them what the problem was. Yeah, we had exactly the same issue as why we started the diagnostics when we did, and we started charging £20, I think it was originally, and then we upped it to 30 after. Or I think it probably went to 25, then 30. But yeah, totally agree there.
We had to. Well, there was people coming in that were leaving their laptops for a year, and maybe I'll get it fixed, maybe I won't. Well, I want my diagnostics fee. You can rock on with leaving it.
Yeah. If you guys are wondering why I'm talking so fast, obviously the show goes out as a podcast as well. So obviously not everyone can actually read everything what's on the screen. So obviously I have to obviously read it. So we've got Peter Whitehouse saying his entry level laptops, i3 basically laptop, 256 gigabyte SSD, Windows 11, about £100 profit on the machine. And then he does add-ons like AV, setup, data transfer. Obviously, do you want fries with that? Basically, with everything you sell, you need to upsell everything. And personally, when I do anything like that, I'll push reoccurring things like maintenance contracts, even to consumers. Stuff like security programs. We use MSPs. There are other ones available on the market. We obviously Office is another thing you can resell if it's a business, and data backup and stuff like that. There's lots of things you can charge reoccurring for, and that's money what comes in rolling in every month. You don't have to really do anything for it after you've set up, and the money just keeps coming in. And obviously, if you have a quiet month in your shop or you get no call outs, that money is going to be coming in. And there's easy ways to do it. The easiest software or online program is probably Go Cardless. It basically just charges the customer via like a direct debit system every month, and you can then just invoice them and so forth, and you should be fine.
You can even offer a cloud service on a reoccurring monthly thing, and that generates a good bit of income on its own. Is if you offer that. There's Live Drive out there. There's all sorts that you can offer on a monthly basis to your customers.
Yeah, Live Drive's one for backup. You've got Cloud Dolphin as well, and quite a few different ones, to be honest. Peter Whitehouse is saying, don't do any refurbs, but we'll draw the line at 8th gen. Obviously, it's down to, per person's views. Obviously, if the customer knows what they're buying, I can't see an issue with it, to be honest with you. But yeah, 8th gen is Windows 11 compliant mostly. Someone on Facebook user says thought it was 7th gen. 7th gen, I think it is on some specific 7th gen ones, which are generally like the extreme models.
7700, I think. 7800 plus, I think, is 11th gen compatible.
It's just safer to say 8th. And
saves confusion, and you'd be surprised how many, obviously a lot of AMD machines as well. There's some fairly newer ones, to be honest with you, really low-end processors like the Athlon type ones, which are like the lower, I can't remember if it's a 3000 or 2000, they're not supported, where the higher-end models like the Ryzens are supported and so forth. So just double check on the specific models, especially if it's a low-end model, especially like Celeron and Pentiums and stuff like that, if anyone uses them much. And Facebook users just saying, yeah, Peter Whitehouse, you're correct. But basically, let's have a look. Wilmer's saying Windows 11, Ben Ashcroft, I reckon, will change a lot of things, basically. It's just disappeared off the screen. MS will change the goalpost nearer the time. Hard to say, to be honest, on that one personally. I think Microsoft wants everyone on Windows 11. It's more money for them, basically. So I don't think they'll change it. People have had 10 years with Windows 10, or will have in 2025. That's long enough for supporting it. They want to concentrate on Windows 11, and I wouldn't be surprised before 2025 we see a Windows 12 or whatever they want to do it.
Didn't they say 10 was going to be the last operating system iteration?
We all knew that was going to be a lie.
We knew better.
I knew that was going to be a lie when you looked on their website after they said that. It says end of life 2025. And that was when they said it was going to be the last one. I had a feeling, no, they're not going to tell everyone to move over to Apple or Linux or something like that. That's
Windows 11, very user-friendly.
I think it's probably the better launch one, to be honest with you, out of a lot of them. Well, especially if you compare it to Windows 8, let's put it that way. But Windows 10 and 11, I think, has been pretty good. There's been a few little niggly things, but I think generally. Peter Whitehouse says, can't wait to Windows 10 end of life. Lots of money, basically, because everyone's going to be upgrading, wanting new machines. A lot of things are not going to be supported on Windows 10 anymore. For example, you buy peripherals, they'll probably not have drivers and security programs and stuff like that. So yeah, totally agree there. I know a lot of security programs now don't work on anything older than Windows 10. 10. So you've got to basically, if you want security on there, in most cases, you need at least Windows 10. So yeah, let's have a look. Will saying he works with us as close to his local computer repair shop. I think we mentioned this before. So he can refer people to them and vice versa.
You will.
So yeah, totally agree. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. So, this is Carl. He says possibly sharing a store with a phone repair shop. Yeah, it's a good idea. Sharing your computer repair one side and phone on the other, and you can both help each other out probably as well.
Yeah,
so it's pretty good. That's good. So let's have a look. And what we got, the Surface Studio from MS 7th Gen CPU. Yeah. So there we go. So that's caught up with the chat. Let's just really quickly go through how much everyone charges in who's watching. Obviously, you guys can join in because we are a little bit over already. So write in the comments section and obviously say what the price is for. How much do you charge for servicing a computer? So let's just say they wanted just a MOT or whatever you wanted to call it. We do a call out service. Ours is actually £70. That will be going up shortly as well. So anyone, what do you do that sort of thing, Ben?
I don't do so much software, but if there's a service internally, like clean, repaste the CPU, £48.
Okay. What about yourself, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, a general service. So our prices differ depending on whether it's a call out or whether it's booked in store. So we're £70 if booked in, 85 if it's a call out. That's our hourly rate.
Okay.
We do fixed prices on certain services. A clone, for example. So we basically charge per hour depending on whether it's a call out or whether it's in store. So a clone is 110 if it's in store, is 127.50 if it's a call out.
Yeah, now, I'm going to say we charge per hour, but in most services, generally, if it's just for one machine, it'll take less than an hour usually. But yeah, what about virus removal? We're looking at similar sort of prices to do that. So if someone's got some malware or whatever it may be, scamware, whatever it is.
I personally don't do it. I just do clean install. I won't do virus removal. I'll just do clean install, £84. Or if you want an SSD for 240 SSD, it's £134, including a clone or clean install. Data transfer.
Okay.
To Facebook user, you're charging £30 for 2 hours work. I would say you're underpricing yourself. I mean, you know your area better than I do, but I would say that's a bit underpriced because you've got to factor in your
£30
time.
per hour, usually
minimum of 2 hours.
Usually 60.
So it'll be 60 total.
Right.
Still say, in my opinion, you're undercharging, but to each their own.
Okay, all right, okay, £30 per hour. All right, that's different.
Yeah, that's it.
That's different.
Again, it depends on the area. He might be in the Highlands somewhere. We don't know where it's really, really cheap or whatever. Somewhere in Ireland, maybe different pricing.
Yeah.
Again, we can't really judge on pricing, but
it read to me that it was 2 hours for £30, and
do obviously double check your local area, see what everyone else is charging, and would anyone actually notice if you stuck it up by an extra £5 an hour anyway? So an extra £5 an hour, even if you're doing one job a day, that's going to earn you nearly £4,000 a year. So it gives you a rough idea. So let's have a look. So next one. So what about, do you do data recovery or anything like that, or do you send that off?
I personally send it off.
Yeah.
If it's software based, then it's normally between an hour and an hour and a half plus media to put it on. Obviously, if it's anything hardware, it goes off.
Yeah, basically the same sort of
thing.
Taken out, to be honest.
Unless you can take it out of a caddy and it's the caddy that's damaged, it will be going off somewhere.
Yeah. So if it's just obviously someone's accidentally deleted the family pictures or whatever or done a reinstall, then we can usually do that. But if it's anything, it's making a noise or not working, that'll get sent off to a data recovery expert. There's a few of them out there, but I think I know who most people use. What about Windows reinstall? We usually take that away and bring it back. So now if I'm doing a Windows install, we're looking at about £150, but because I have to go out, pick it up, bring it back, do it, and then go back, I won't do something like that on site because I don't know how fast their internet's going to be to do any updates and drivers and all this, that, and the other. So I'll always take that away. How much do you charge for that sort of thing, Ben?
Clean install, £84.
Okay, obviously, people are bringing it to you mainly, are they, or are you
I
collecting?
have to say I probably should charge more for collection and delivery, but I usually schedule it in around other stuff, so I don't actually at the moment charge any extra for doing collection drop off because I'm in town back and forth town most days anyway. So, but I should probably start charging for collection and delivery on top of that.
Yeah, stick an extra 20 quid in there or something, you'd probably be all right, or maybe more. But yeah, that'll add up over the year, you'd be surprised. What about yourself, Chris, on that one?
Just looking at some of the comments, I'm probably going to seem a bit expensive here, although, similar to you, Phil. So, as I say, we're £70 an hour. For a reinstall, we charge 2 hours, so 140 or 130 if they don't need any data backed up. If it's a call out, as I say, we're £85 an hour. So either 170 or 160 if they don't need any data backed up.
Okay, no, that's pretty reasonable. Again, there's no such thing as too expensive. If you can charge it and people are paying for it, then, well, hey, you're in. So I don't think there's a way to be too expensive, but there is a way to be too cheap, shall we say.
Fair exchange is no
double
robbery.
check.
And if if you're quoting people and they're saying yes, that's entirely up to them, isn't it?
That's
It is.
Sorry, I'm not reading everyone's comments because there's like about 150 comments going across in pricing. So if anyone does want to see those, just watch the YouTube video. You can find that on YouTube/Tech for Techs, basically. So you can find all our past shows on there as well and on other places as well. Let's just quickly go through. What about screen and socket replacements? Do you charge like just a time or a set amount for those?
Power socket normally £65 if it's on a cable. I don't do the soldered. Screen replacements normally around about 115, unless it's a specialist screen. If it's just a standard 15.6, around about 115.
Is that plus parts or including parts?
Including parts, yeah. And again, that'll be collection and drop off if they need it.
Okay. What about yourself, Chris?
Screen depends on whatever the part is, but we would charge an hour to fit the screen, so £70. DC jacks, we would typically charge an hour and a half if it's a soldered jack, so 105. If it's a cable jack, we normally charge an hour, but you're probably going to put a bit more on a cable jack than you would on a soldered jack, so the price is not too dissimilar. You're probably talking about 120 total for either.
Okay, we've got a few mobile phone people who are watching tonight as well. Let's have a look. So, do either of you guys do any like phone repairs? Do you have like a set fee you charge on phones? I don't think Ben does. By looking at the shape of the head,
I did it for a while. I hated it. So fiddly, so time consuming. Not my thing at all.
What about yourself, Chris?
I won't touch mobile phones whatsoever. In my opinion.
So fiddly.
It's not even that. I agree they are, but also with regards to it, it's margins. Someone who pays, £500 or £400 for a laptop, invariably they see the value in that machine. If you're paying, I mean, I haven't had a phone contract for a while that where I buy the mobile phone, but 40, 50 quid for a mobile phone contract. Most people see that as the value of their device, and they don't realise that actually it's £1,200 for their device. And so when you say to them, it's going to be £120 to repair a screen on it, I'm just, for instance, then they go, oh, that's a lot of money. So and so would do it for 70 quid down the road. Okay, see you later.
Such a race to the bottom market.
It is, in my opinion. And as I say, there are people that do it, and fair play to them, but it's not for me.
Yeah,
no.
There does seem to be more of a race to the bottom. What I've seen in the phone. Don't get me wrong. There'll probably other people will say there isn't. I suppose it depends on where you are. If you're in a built-up town and there's probably 500 stores, people seem to just want to go for whoever's cheapest, no matter what the quality is. I think, to be honest.
I mean, you've got to factor in that you've got to have special little tools because the tools you use on a laptop and a PC are not going to work on a phone. You got to have smaller tools, and I'm not going to fiddle with it. I had a phone repair kit. We used it twice, and I think it got bent because we didn't do it anymore. We repaired a couple of phones, and we found it was too tedious, B, too time consuming, and C, the people bringing them in didn't want to pay for the repair anyway.
And a lot of
They
them
do
wanted the
the
stuff
price.
doing then and there.
Yeah,
same,
and they
same
wanted to
day.
set
That's
it in
the
the
other
watch.
price. Yeah, they want the stuff back the
They
same
want to
day.
sit
It's like
and
it's my phone. I
watch.
can't be without it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so.
Right. Okay, guys, we're pretty much at the end of the show. One tip I've got for you, one other thing which we haven't mentioned is obviously is offering a price range for services you offer if you've got a store or products you're selling. So basically, a lot of people don't know the difference between gigahertz and gigabytes, and they'll get the memory and the RAM and drives, and they'll not even know the name for the computer tower. Sometimes they'll call it a modem in some cases, which really hasn't been used in a few years. But
It's
lots
a
of different
power
names.
supply.
But sometimes when selling them or something, right, basically assess what they need and offer them free prices. Basically say you can have a good one for a certain price, a better one for a certain price, and a best one for another price, and make the realistic prices. And you will find, as long as you get your pricing right for the different levels, that generally most of the time they will go for the middle option. I think 9 out of 10 times, or at least 8 out of 10 times, they will go for that middle option. So if you go around, someone else wants a cheap laptop for 400, cheap laptop, and let's just say the cheapest one's £400, just say, well, I've got one at 475, which is so much better. One at say 550, so much better. The chances they'll go for the one at 475 if you obviously talk to them right and so forth. So that's just a tip, and you can offer that with services as well. I know some people do that in the stores, like a priority. So if let's just say you're going in for a service, MOT, whatever it is, they either do more on the, let's just say the silver package rather than the bronze package, and even more on the gold, and the gold one might get priority, so it'll be done in 2 to 3 days rather than 4 to 5, and so forth. So there are different options there. Works for some people, other people don't like it, but I must admit, for selling stuff like laptops and PCs, works well for me. I generally most of the time people go for that middle option because they don't want to be seen as cheap, so they don't want to go for the cheapest option, so they generally go for the middle one.
I don't know if it's something that anybody else does, but we do actually, just talking about priority, we offer a priority service. So I think I mentioned earlier that most of our stuff is on a first come, first serve basis. But we got a number of people saying, I need it done today, you know, what it looked at today. I don't personally like the idea of queue jumping and all that kind of thing, or paying to queue jump, but people want it. You know, if someone wants it to pay to jump ahead of the queue, I'll happily take their money. So, yeah, I mean, we charge an extra £25 if you want to jump to the front of the queue, as it were. I mean, sometimes you get 2 or 3 people in a day doing that. So obviously they have to realise there's still a certain queue because they jump into the head of the normal queue, if you like. But
I guess
yeah,
you could
it's
call it the Philip Schofield package. Yeah, jump the queue.
yes, yeah, an express service. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably better, Peter. It's, yeah,
You'll probably upset a few people with that if you said that to them. But yeah, so good idea. Right, guys,
yeah.
because of the time, we don't want the episode to go on as long as, let's just say, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. We've got to finish it off at some point. So let's just do a quick round the room. Any final thoughts? Jen, do you have any final thoughts before we finish the show?
Let's go.
No, you're done. What about yourself, Ben? Any final thoughts for you?
That's a great show. Thanks again.
Yes, thanks
There
for
we go.
coming.
What about yourself, Chris? Any final thoughts?
Jerry Springer, final thoughts. Put your prices up. Everybody should put your prices up.
Yeah. Well, my final thought was going to be exactly the same as that
Oh,
one.
well, there you go.
You beat me to it. So my final thought. So you've got a double final thought of put your bloody prices up. Okay. So simple as that. A fiver will not break the bank. It will actually make you money. So do it. Right, guys. Thank you all for watching. It's been brilliant. There's a lot of people who have been watching tonight who have not seen before, and a lot of the regulars as well. We will have a show on next Thursday. Again, we're in the process of planning on that. But if you ever want to be on a show, let us know. We can actually tailor the show for you. So if you want business advice or anything specific, you want a show just about mobile phones or tablets or laptops
or if you're
anything
a
else,
distributor, get in touch with us again at info@techfortex.co.uk and you can be on a show with us.
There we go. And we will be having some interviews coming up with vendors and distributors, especially over the next few months before Tech Max. So keep an eye on that one. So it's really good. Again, Eurosoft says costs are going up globally. It's a must to do and keep it up. Great show. Talking about globally, before we go, if you haven't already, make sure you sign up for our tftmember.co.uk, the actual forums. This is different to the Facebook page because that's basically UK only or anyone involved in UK. We do allow in the TFT member page, which is tftmember.co.uk on the screen at the moment, we do allow any nationality or location as long as you can prove you've got a store or you're a proper registered business, and we will let you in. We're happy. We've got separate pages for different nationalities, countries. If you don't find that there is a page specifically for you, let us know. We'll add one in there for you. It's simple as that.
I've just signed up whilst we were live.
There we go, and I'll let you in a little bit later when I've got
lovely.
the podcast up sorted. Right, guys, so I'm going to leave it there. So we'll see you all next Thursday. Thank you again for watching, and I'll leave you with this. Can you go and meet hundreds of people just like you, strengthen existing relationships and forge new ones with vendors and distributors, and meet some of the biggest names in the industry, where you can go and see the newest tech and services that you need to make your IT business grow. And there'll be thousands of pounds worth of prizes up for grabs. Then what's more, you'll get that for £1. TechMax 2023 will be on the 23rd of June at Magna Adventure and Science Centre near Meadowhall in Sheffield. This event will be over 4 times larger than last year's event, and this year's event will incorporate a live tech awards, dedicated meeting rooms, demo and interactive areas, and up to 800 other techs just like you. Get registered now at TF